What's up, everyone? It's Who You Know. It's Dom Dahlia. I'm going to take my glasses off because I need to give my eyes a break. So, here's today's video. Here's a vlog. I'm going to probably try to create a song based off of what I share. I think my plan is that I'm going to try to really orchestrate songs based off of these vlogs. To try to give a little bit more, I guess you could say a little bit more behind the scenes of what really inspires the actual music that I make, how I really go about it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Is this vlog, sorry, I just ate a lot of food after being on my lunch break, and now I'm just resting, but so today I want to talk about the importance of understanding how to sound like someone who's self-aware, what that really means. A lot of times you hear the idea of what it means to be self-aware, but it never truly clicks because it's always, to a lot of people, the idea becomes self-awareness is what you think about matters most than really how to really communicate it. Whereas self-awareness, actual self-awareness, is understanding how to truly communicate your how you process information, your critical thinking skills. That is self-awareness. While I'm in school for autism, studying autism, it's really taught me a lot about how there's a lot of issues where people grow up becoming individuals where they've never really learned how to actually communicate critical thinking skills or cognitive thinking skills in general. And so they just kind of live their lives where they think people are supposed to just know what they're doing all the time cognitively. But the reality is that they forget or fail to realize that the idea of being someone who can still actually communicate your critical thinking skills is still very crucial. It's still a very important skill to have, because it just proves that you're very direct, you're very forthcoming, you're very honest, you're very open, and not only are these very important skills, like professionally, excuse me, these are also very important skills personally. Your personal relationships improve when you can be open with each other, and it's so important to not forget that. Communication is key, will always be sound advice, no matter what what time period we're in. It will always be sound. But so today I wanted to talk a little bit about what it means to actually sound like someone who knows how they feel, how he or she feels. Because what I found is that people lash out a lot of times in anger. People lash out a lot of times in fear. People lash out a lot of times in fear or fear-related feelings a lot of times, and they don't really know exactly, again, how to really communicate what is really the fear, what is the fear-related feeling, what does it really entail about them and their intentions or their goals. Somebody could just lash out, but it's not enough to say that person is truly, I guess you could say, sophisticated enough to really be able to be communicated with sophisticatedly, because they haven't really begun to even process how to communicate what they're feeling or really communicate it to anyone. So it's so important that people understand that, I live in an area in Georgia. I live in the Athens area. What I can say is there's a lot of people who want to practice hedonism, but they really do not get hedonism. They really don't, because that philosophy, though I get why some philosophers try to argue it, the reality is that hedonism does not work for most people because they don't even know how to communicate their pain or their pleasure accurately. They really don't know how to communicate that, period. They don't know how to communicate their pain. They don't know how to communicate their pleasure. And quite frankly, a lot of people who are sophisticated are in their right to say, I understand what they're going through, but at the same time, I expect them to know how to communicate that with me, how to communicate that pain with me, how to communicate that pleasure with me. I can't be seen as a problem because I expect people to actually communicate more upfront their pain, sound where they hurt, sound where they feel pain, sound where they feel pleasure. You know, it's so important because one thing that I found is that a lot of times people just assume that people like to sound a certain way to sound a certain way, but that's not true. You know, I have at times a Southern accent, but usually I have a Southern accent when I'm going through certain pains, like chest pain because of my mitochondrial disorder. It's a heart condition. So when my pain starts to act up, I start developing a Southern accent because it's how I'm able to properly communicate and properly express what I'm feeling. Okay? Sound where, and I'm going to create a song about this. Sound where your pain is. Sound like you know where your pain is. Sound like you know where your pleasure is in your body, because you don't get hedonism if you really don't get any of that. Okay? End of story. So, I'm going to create a song where, you know, it's really about being able to understand this. And the intro is going to involve me kind of like telling the story about Dom Dahlia and like being this preacher of this religion that's really based on the concept of teaching people how to really understand that fear does not just exist in life, but fear exists in death. And how to communicate that is to be able to listen to this thing that I'm going to write in the song, where what I mean by that is the intro is going to have this basically this sermon where Dom Dahlia says, and I, Dom Dahlia, said, accept all that can end your existence. Accept all the things and the people that can end your existence. For your feelings of fear and fear-related feelings are rooted in understanding of life or death. Once you accept it, a calmness overwhelms you. A peacefulness overwhelms you. A knowing and understanding overwhelms you. Once you accept this, you understand that all that feels these feelings must accept these feelings are rooted in life and death. I'm probably going to use this actual clip in the audio clip in that song. So I'm looking forward to it. Basically, simply put, I want people to understand that hedonism is a valid philosophy if you really understand how you're communicating. Because if you really don't understand how to communicate, period, you know, how you really feel, if you really don't get how to sound where your pain is in your body, how to sound where your pleasure is in your body, you're really going to keep faltering with a lot of people who just expect you to know how to. And a lot of times they're going to see you as some person that keeps trying to repeat this cycle of, and what I found, especially in the Southeast here in Georgia, have a lot of people that try so hard to believe this is some Midwestern state where they can keep trying to categorize the idea that brave people only do brave things. And this is my advice on that, in case you're one of those people that struggles with that, to understand brave acts are not defined by acts. Let me rephrase this, because I was thinking of it as a really good one. Bravery is not defined by the act, but by the person. That's all for now. I hope everyone has a good day, good night, whatever time it may be that you see this. Just please, food for thought, take into consideration what I've shared in this. Thank you.